Hi everyone, this is Michelle. Welcome to my very first video for the Alleyway Stamps. Today I'm going to be showing you a card that I'm making using mostly this stamp set called Oogles, and it has a whole bunch of really cute monster images that I'll be using. So when I first get my stamps, what I like to do is make little sketches of the cards I'm going to make. So I'm going to have this little sketch that I'll just keep in the corner that I'll use to guide me when I'm making my card. So the first thing I'm going to do is make my card base. So I'm taking out a sheet of dark gray cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to make this a top folding portrait card, so I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4, and then I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is create kind of a panel for my card. You can see here it's kind of on the diagonal, and I think the angles will just add a little interest. So I'm going to take a sheet of white cardstock, and it's going to go something like this. So I'm just going to place it where I think it's going to go, and then turn it over and mark with a pen where I want to cut. So now that that's set, I can go ahead and trim that off. And I think that'll be a good angled panel for the front of our card. So before I do any coloring for that, I'm going to work on the background for this card. And I'm going to be using Perfect Pearls. So I'm just going to take out the one solid stamp in this set. I'm taking out the solid one because that way it gives more area for the Perfect Pearls to cling onto. So this little furry creature here, I'm going to mount him onto my acrylic block. And the Perfect Pearls needs a sticky ink to stick onto, so I'm going to take out my Versamark ink. And I'm just going to stamp him all around the background, just randomly, so that I have a bunch of little monsters scattered around. And I don't have to do this over the whole background since we're going to have that panel covering the bottom right hand corner. So I'm just going to go around the left and the top of the card just to make sure that all the parts that are showing are covered, so that it looks like this background is stamped over the entire card. So I'm just going to make sure I have all the parts showing covered, and that looks like it'll be good. So then I can go ahead with my Perfect Pearls. I'm going to take out some scrap paper so that I don't get the powder everywhere. And I'm going to be using two different brushes for this. So I have a soft brush, which kind of has these more fluffy bristles, and then I have a stiff brush with a straight edge, and you'll see why I need these two different brushes later. So first I'm going to take the soft brush and just dip it into the powder and just brush it over all of the images that I've stamped in Versamark. And you can already start seeing that it sticks to where the ink is. And it might get a little messy, but later on we're going to brush that all off with the stiff brush. So I'm just going to make sure I cover all of these stamped images. And then once that's all done, I'm going to take my stiff brush and just brush off all of the extra powder. And you can use a little bit of force with this. The Versamark ink will make sure that the powder sticks to where you want it to. There are also special brushes that they sell that are specifically for Perfect Pearls. So if you want, you can get one of those brushes, and then I think you can just use that one brush instead of having two separate brushes, but since I already had these, I figured that I would just use what I have instead of buying a new tool. And then once that's done, if you have a lot of extra powder, you can try to save it and put it back in, but usually I find that there isn't that much extra, so I'm just going to fold this up and throw it away. So you can see in the camera it is super shiny where the perfect pearls is, and it's just a really cool look, and it makes the monsters look kind of surreal, or like fluorescent, like they're glowing or something like that. And I think it's especially cool on a dark colored cardstock. But for perfect pearls, you have to set it with water just to make sure the powder doesn't move around. So I'm taking out my mini mister, which is just filled with plain water. And I'm going to spray it into the air and then kind of wave my card into the water. And then this will make sure that you're getting water onto the card, but you're not getting too much water that it just warps the whole thing. So I'm just going to do a few spritzes of that. And that should be good enough to set it. So since I added a little bit of water, I'm going to set that aside to dry while we work on the front panel of the card. So I'm going to take out this big cute monster because I think he'll take up most of the space on the front. And I'm also going to take out the sentiment that says Monster Wishes. But I actually want to turn this into a birthday card. So I'm taking out this smaller stamp set from TheAlleyWayStamps. And I'm going to use this birthday sentiment, but instead of saying happy birthday, I want it to say birthday monster wishes. So I'm actually going to cut my stamp. And this is perfectly okay with photopolymer stamps because they're kind of squishy and then you can just put them back the way they were supposed to be. But I think this is just a good idea to do just to make your supplies work for you. If you want to change something up a little bit, you can just cut things out the way you want them to work, and you can always put it back the way it was intended. And once that's stamped, I'm going to take out a couple colors of green Copic markers. These are markers that blend together really well, and I chose the green just because I thought it would go well with kind of the alien look of these monsters. So once that's all colored, he looks kind of funky, but I think that's okay since he's a monster. So that's our panel for the front. So I'm going to bring back the card base with the background we did earlier. And I think I'm going to cut off just a little bit more off of the left side, just so that we could have more of the background showing. And then next I'm going to look for a pattern paper that I think will be a good mat to go around our front panel. So I found this scrap of paper from my stash. I think the color matches perfectly with the monster, and it's actually the perfect size scrap to fit this. So I'm just going to tape that on. It's a little short on the right side, but I'm just going to trim that part off anyway, so it should be perfectly fine. So I'm going to trim the right part off and make sure the bottom is flush with the card front. And that's the perfect fit for the front of our card. So I'm just going to adhere this straight onto the card base. And that finishes off the card. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to sharing more card videos in the future with you. Thank you for watching.